one of the requirements that we do for every customer that we get, anything that we get on board, is a face-to-face meeting. Whether we have to go to Mexico, Canada, anywhere in the U.S. So his logistics says, I have to see you in the eye, get you a firm handshake, and from there is where the relationship starts. That's where the bond begins between you and your customer.
Hi, and welcome to the Freight People Podcast, where we have honest conversations and practical advice for succeeding in trucking. Today, I am so excited to have Central Coast Transport on the podcast. This is a family-run, large cross-border carrier doing mostly refrigerated freight. Can you share your name and what you do at the company? Can we start with you, Gustavo?
Yes. Hi, my name is Gustavo. I am the president of the Central Coast Transport, Inc.
All right, Carmen, we'll just go by age every time. Gustavo, I'm assuming you're the oldest guy here. Maybe not.
Okay, I'm Carmen Alcala, and I am like the general manager. I do all the bookkeeping for the company.
Hello, my name is Cesar Alcala, and I am your Chief Operation Officer, which oversees all operations between the U.S. and Mexico.
I'm Abigail Alcala. I handle HR, a bit of IT, and a bit of billing.
Okay, fabulous. I've heard such wonderful things about your family, and I just heard that you guys not only work together running this fabulous business, but you also hang out on the weekends. So you're just all the time, just hanging out. I love it. So, my first question is just like, where'd you guys get started? Like, take me back when you first started this company. Was it the whole family? Was it before the kiddos came along?
So the story goes back to 96. In 96, my father decided to move from Mexico to the United States. And we ended up landing a spot in a small town in California. It was an agriculture town, Santa Maria, California, to be exact. And that's where he started his venture with the first truck. He was a lone driver back in the 90s where regulations were as tough and, the market diesel prices were only $1.80 a gallon. So he went out and he did his thing. He was driving for about 2 to 3 years. Where he hauled agricultural just pretty much in the state of California. Eventually, he ventured out into a little bit further out, Phoenix, Arizona, Nogales, Arizona, and just started to see the reach of what this industry has and how much more there was out there. And that's pretty much how he got started. It was with one tractor, one trailer, and just him on behind the wheel.
So, Cesar, you were talking about how when you guys started out in the 90s, it was bulk ag mostly that you were moving. And then it sounds like you switched over more to like cross border. What brought you into that space? Why'd you move into refrigerated?
So we actually did the move back in 2016 to San Antonio, Texas from California. Um, we had a couple of insights regarding business in Mexico, and we felt that a infrastructure close to a border operation would actually strengthen our business. That being said, my father made the decision, said, you know what, we got to move out of the California state and we got to get closer to this Texas crossing border operation and really have a more stable operations because now you're playing with two countries. Now you're able to determine, if produce is low in the States, well, typically it's because it's a Mexico season, and then vice versa. When the Mexico season ends, usually you have a higher end produce in the United States. So for us, it made sense to be able to be closer to that cross-country, cross-border operation so we can oversee it and control it a little bit better.
That makes total sense. The rest of the family, would you guys add anything to that? Like, what were the differences for you? Well, you can talk about the transition into cross-border, and then what were the big differences between running freight just in the US and then moving to the US and Mexico?
I think that one of the things that when Gustavo started driving, he started with Bonita Paqui in Santa Maria, California, but they were doing loads all the way to the border. So it was just to the border. And but he knew about what kind of papers they needed, like the vital certificate and little things like that. So that made him like, what we can go a little bit farther. Not only to it was in Nogales.
No, got it, sorry.
It was Nogales. So that's one of the things that it was just like making a step forward, and then he will go back. But then we did more when we came here to San Antonio, Texas.
So there was growth for you guys right away, or was it hard to transition?
No, it was a boom before a growth. I mean,
Yeah.
you just expand your opportunity with volume. You put your name out there, and ironically, as one customer sees that you are now doing a cross-border operation, it's kind of word of mouth. They say, "Hey, you guys are down here. Let's do business and do business." So we start opening up more operations with more customers, and eventually it just starts growing, and you start growing with your customers.
Well, I can tell you guys get along. You're probably all good at relationship management. And, I came into the freight industry a little over 3 years ago, and that is like the number one thing I would say about it in comparison to other industries is just that relationships matter so much. Like it's a relationship driven industry. And how do you guys have any tips or tricks on how you used your relationships or networking to build your business?
Well, I think it all starts with fundamentals and trust.
Be nice.
I think for my father's core, he's still the type of man that believes in a handshake over a contract. So his cores and his values speak loud. And for him, one of the requirements that we do for every customer that we get, anything that we get on board, is a face-to-face meeting. Whether we have to go to Mexico, Canada, anywhere in the U.S. So his logistics says, I have to see you in the eye, get you a firm handshake, and from there is where the relationship starts. That's where the bond begins between you and your customer.
Would you guys add anything to that?
I mean, people can tell. I know when you go in with a good heart, people can tell. They've told us to our face, like, you seem like a good company. And they've opened doors with other partnerships just because of that. So, I mean, it's working out.
Okay. I love that. So far, we've got be nice. That came from Abigail. Put that on a t-shirt. That's very simple. That's good. It's perfect. And be trustworthy. Look your customer in the eye. Like make the trip. Show up, look them in the eye, give them a firm handshake. This is great. Anything to add, Gustavo? You guys over there?
Algo que quieras agregar.
Well, just the trucking business is my passion. Believe it or not, I started driving when I was only 10 years old with my father's car. And that time, I love the road. I love the smell, the gasoline. I love everything around the trucking business. It's running in my blood.
It sounds like you've built an incredible life for yourself. Like you love trucks, you like the smell of the gasoline, and you're able to do this with your family. And maybe they saw that growing up. They saw your love for it, and it made it look fun. Like to the kiddos, Abigail, Cesar, what made you guys want to join in the family business? When was that moment when you were like, I actually think this is what I want to do too?
For me, it was at a point where you see your parents hit their max, and you say, "Hey, we need help. We need support." And there was no turning back or no saying, "No, I can't." And really providing that extra step of support, right? There are certain things that their knowledge will get us there, but it's our will that will help us get through there. And I think, when you combine that, the experience plus the youth and the will to get it done, I think that was a good recipe to what we built together.
Yeah, like they did give us the option to go and venture out and explore, but they did say we already built this foundation. So if you want to build like from this, you're more than welcome to, or you can go start a new career, but you are going to be starting from zero in a new career. So we decided like it's going to be much better to build something we already have and build it up and leave it up for the next generations to come after us.
And you guys enjoy it? Do you have any moments where you're like super annoyed with each other? What kind of like conflict resolution? Do you just do this naturally? Did you have to figure out like a certain kind of dance to keep everybody running smoothly?
We're all in different departments. That's what makes it work. We don't step into each other's departments.
No, I think we're, one of the ventures, because as history would say, a family business is a tough business to run. And there's a lot of people that, sadly aren't able to do that. For us, I think the guidance of what they started when they began this business, founded by their religious foundations, we're all very religious people, really helped us get through. And, when you have a mindset of when you walk in the door, you put in your tie and you become your person at work.
Mhm.
But then when you walk out the door, my boss becomes my dad. It just makes a difference, and you're able to go ahead and deal with those challenges at work, and you go out and you talk about it like you're talking to your father or you're talking about a coworker.
Yeah, and I think we juggle that pretty well. We do put our work hat on and we do put our home hat on. Because even at work, we reference each other by first name. And we've even been told, like, Abigail, you call your mom Carmen? You don't tell her mom? I was like, no, I'm at work. At work, she's Carmen. And then when I go home, she's my mom. But we keep it at a professional level, and we do set the boundary.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I learned was at the beginning, if we have some issues with the driver, or if a driver was upset or something, he would say your son, and that's when we decided that this is not going to work out. Even because we even have my daughter-in-law here, she works with us too. She's a home office, but we decided to put her last name as Navarro, so no one here knows that she is my daughter-in-law. So we started like, okay, you're Cesar, Gustavo, Abigail, Carmen. So since they saw that, so even if they had complaints, they tell me, you know what, Miss Navarro hasn't called me. I have been leaving messages. I said, okay, I'll take care of that. Don't worry about it. But in a way, for us, it worked better, a lot better,
And
just to have.
it's not a secret that she's my brother's wife. Like if they ask her, oh yeah, I'm married to Caesar, but just in general, her name is just different. And if somebody asks, I mean, it's there. But
Yeah, because you guys are running a pretty big operation. I would imagine you work with quite a few people, and they might get confused if you're like, well, my mom, my dad. It does seem like it'd work better to use their first names because that's what everyone calls them at work. And that makes sense. You're talking about compartmentalizing, like this is our work selves, and then when we leave, that's our family selves. Sounds like you've gotten really organized and managing different, each person is in a different department, so you all have your zones.
And we do text. We do text, like, suppose that one of us is not in a good mood. We text each other saying, be careful because he's not in a good mood or she's not in a good mood. So we try to change, don't give him work or don't tell him nothing negative, and we keep up.
I love that's good advice for any family. I'm putting that advice in my head for my own family and relationship. It's like if somebody's in a bad mood, let's give them a little grace. Let's be a little kinder. Let's not put as much pressure on. And you guys are giving each other heads up. That's wise. It's good advice generally. Well, how do you keep up with the complexities of customs and permits and compliance on both sides of the border?
We have a structure built to where we have a partnership with our carriers and our partners at the border. So a lot of it gets done through our customers themselves. For us, it's really just following through, making sure documentation is there, making sure everything is released. Nowadays you have a trailer that crosses and somebody misses an FDA release, well, you're bound to get a fine over 100,000 or so, depending on product. So it's very crucial that we do have our personnel up to speed, along with our partners on the Mexican side, to be able to all collaborate into one and kind of join together and make sure that everything is precise for that matter.
Okay. So a lot of documentation, keeping track of all of that, so that you've got your bases covered in case there are any issues. How did you learn it to begin with?
Remember that we started with one truck. And when we first started, it wasn't so difficult. And then Santa Maria, California was a small town. I still remember that I had my bid inspections in my living room. The officer will come to my house. I will give him tea or coffee, and then we will be talking. And then he will be explaining and teaching everything since the beginning. So it wasn't like right now. It was a lot different. So we started asking, we started learning. Right now you have chat. You can ask him anything you want and he will teach you, he will tell you. But before it was more like they were saying, communicating, or the relationships that you will be making.
And I think a lot of it goes as well. You grow as you go and you learn as you go. And, one of the structures or one of the feelings that we have based on how we built our relationship or our business is we really done everything on our own. So the structure that my father has built has really been based on experience, and mistakes. Mistakes, obviously costly mistakes that make you learn and grow. When you make a mistake of thousands of dollars with fines, with issues, you say, oh, better not do that again next time. And I think that's, the learning curve of having your own business, and none of the four of us coming from a background of transportation is just really, all right, let's do it and let's work it together and see where this leads us.
Yeah. So again, I'm learning that your tips are rely on those relationships and maybe make some tea or some cookies or whatever for the people that are teaching you and helping you, and let yourself fail and learn when you make mistakes. Let that be an opportunity to learn and grow. I heard one time that winners are just losers that keep going, that refuse to give up. And it seems like you guys have that spirit that you're willing to push through, you're willing to be there for each other, figure it out, and learn from your mistakes.
Ironically, in our industry, we do thousands and thousands of loads a year. But I can tell you that the ones that we remember the most are the ones that we failed at, and the reasons why we failed at those. And those are the growing pains that will make you grow with experience. Why did we fail on this load? Why didn't this get done? Did somebody miss an appointment? Did this truck have an accident? Those are the ones that you remember, not the thousands of successful loads that you do a year.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes total sense. I'm just curious if anything comes to mind. Is there a moment that you will never forget in building this company together as a family? Any stories along the way that jump out?
One of the things that I won't forget is because when he started driving, and then when he bought the second truck, I had to stop working and to start being in the office so that way I can talk to the customer, invoice the customer, or send them the fax, the confirmation. But it was a fax machine. And one of the things that I tell them is that I still remember the fax. It will be like dun, 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 dun.
Very
It will
slow.
make a weird noise. Or if I will be sending an email, it will tell you those sounds that they used to make, and it's like what? And it's like that's how it was before, and even the program instead of an Excel, we used to have Lotus, you know. So we did have the computer, but thank God that it wasn't uh, the one that it was before the computer, the Microsoft. What's the name?
Lotus.
No, it's the program for the computer. We used to turn it on, and then the program would be there. We didn't have to look for it, but it was those things that you don't forget. How the fax would go very slow, and then it wasn't paper. It was the other kind of paper. It was like wax paper that in a year or two there was nothing in there. You would get the fax and you could see it, but then like a year or so, it was the letters were gone. There was nothing in there because it was wax. But that's one of the things that I do remember.
That things have
But
changed so much.
Yes, so much. Yes.
another thing, another big event, I think, for the trucking business and for the rest of the world for the COVID-19 season in 2020, 2021, to talk for our industry. We don't know what's next in the next day. I think that's a big event for us.
Yeah, for me, if you say, hey, what brings you, what memory brings you back with your family and your business? I would say my first,
Paycheck?
no, I would say my first sales pitch. My first sales pitch, where my father invited me. I was, if I'm not mistaken, 15 or 16 years old. And me and him went out with the customer. We did our sales pitch. We get there. We had Carmen remembers. We were there. I mean, very innocent. We had, I think at the moment, maybe 3 trucks. We get there. We sat down in a huge conference room where we got introduced to the chief of operations, chief of exports, chief of sales, chief of safety. I mean, the room went along and along. And I will never forget, they start talking about, capacity. We're looking into moving 600 to 700 loads a year. We want to know what your reefer capacity is. How big are they? And my father looked at me and he said, well, do you know how big they are? I think they're pretty big. I mean, if I stand up, I don't hit the roof. So, the innocence of being in this industry was, how much can you carry? Well, we can carry quite a bit. There's a lot that fit in there. So the meeting went on for about 15 minutes. And then one of the bosses stops the meeting and he looks over and he says, hey guys, we've said quite a bit already. Do you guys have a really good memory or do you guys plan on writing any of this down? And then we just looked at each other like, wow. No, yeah, we would like to write this down. Can we please borrow a piece of paper and a pen because we didn't bring anything either. So, I mean, long story short, we go back to learning from those experiences. Ironically, we did get the account. We did work with those guys for quite a bit as well. But, those are the experiences that won't change what we do now. It made us who we are now.
So you bring your note paper on your
Yes.
yeah,
I
okay.
take my laptop everywhere now.
Gustavo was the one that had the knowledge, but he needed a translator. He needed someone to be, so that way he can translate what he wanted to say. So he took Cesar, but Cesar was very young. He was still not into it all 100%. So when the meeting came, and they came over and asked, how did it go? And they started saying, well, it was our first meeting, so it went really good. The only thing, it was a little bit embarrassed because we have to ask for paper. But those little things make you grow and you won't forget. Next time, they had a laptop and they were able to take notes. They can put they can record it and things like that, And now they're able to do a presentation. They learned with, like he was saying, with all of our mistakes for 20 something years that we've been in the business, we have learned so much that, and another thing that I can tell you just in front is that everything that we have learned, we have shared with our own drivers. The ones that they come and say, can I buy your truck? Or you know what, I'm not going to be your driver no more. I'm deciding to buy a new one. We share everything that we have learned, even mistakes and little things. It will make a difference for them when they're starting. I wish that someone came to us and let us know, you can go here and take out your permits, you can go over here and start doing this. So that's one thing that I'm proud that we don't keep nothing. We keep sharing what we know, and it worked. It has worked for the relationship, like I said, with the old drivers and the ones that are new, by just sharing everything that we have learned.
I love that. And I'm wondering if you guys have more tips or advice for driver retention, keeping that's a pain point for a lot of people is hiring good drivers, keeping good drivers on your staff or running loads for you. Do you guys have any advice on how you guys approach that?
You got to
On
keep
my
them happy.
part, because on my part that I do some of the HR, is I always tell them, we're partners on this. I'm putting the truck and you're putting your knowledge. I cannot tell you how to drive. I know that you want to make money, and you cannot tell me how to make my payments on the truck. So in a way, we're partners. So whatever, if there's anything on your truck, know it, feel it, hear it. You're gonna be, doing the driving, but you're gonna know how to handle your truck. You're gonna know when it's in a bad condition before it gets worse. You're gonna come and tell me. And then the same thing. I'm gonna be making the payments, and like I said, we're partners.
One of the biggest challenges that nowadays obviously we face is, like you said, a driver shortage. How do you keep your drivers, and the drivers that are here? How do you keep them in the long run? Ironically, I can tell you that we have drivers that have been with us for over 20 years. They pretty much paired up with my father when he was driving almost, and they were almost driving together, and they're still with us. What makes us different? I think, when you're a specific type of person, it trickles down and it passes on to everything that you do. For us, it starts with values. We care about these guys. The way that we see them coming in the front door is the way that we want to see them leave whenever they want to leave. So we want to make sure that they're safe. Their equipment is up to speed. Their equipment is eligible to be driven, and most importantly, we go back to the family values and the morals. My father personally greets every single driver when we hire them, talks to them, and knows them by their first and last name. Um, he goes out whenever we quote our equipment. He goes out and he sits on the trucks like if they were going to be for him. Says, well, is this something that I would like? If this is something that I would need, let's add this, let's do that. Let's make this comfortable environment. It's not just a working environment, it's more of a family environment.
Okay, so you treat your drivers kind of like family. Like I know Carmen was talking about a partner approach, which to me is so respectful. Like saying, I respect you and your knowledge. I just want to partner with you. I want us to both be successful together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing is to treat them well. I know people see drivers in a different perspective, but I mean, there are people who want to go home to their families also. They're also working. We know they're out there long hours, they're tired, and if you treat them well, you show them that you're trying to take care of them, they stay where they're comfortable.
Yeah. So you're listening to what they say they want and need. Yeah. Well, guys, I one of my favorite quote that I heard from you before I met you, I heard this from Lucas, who's on the Alvys team, who's been helping you guys in customer support. He said that you said, we're having Alvys for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we always want more. What did you mean by that?
We have Alvis in almost every single department of our operation. Like it's not just when we were looking just for a dispatch system, but this is way beyond a dispatch system. This does our payroll. This is like 95% of our billing. This is all of their dispatch. I mean, it's all Alvis. I don't know if you want to lead on that.
Yeah, I mean, it really it changed the way that we approach the industry and our business cycles, to where we're doing a lot less with a lot more technology. So for us, we can see the true benefit of partnering up with Alvys because it gives us that flexibility to be able to see everything in one screen and everybody working on the same screen is amazing. So for us, we would have mentioned it to Lucas. We'll bring him on board and say, hey, this system's amazing. When we're eating for breakfast, we just click on something new and then we sit down at the table and we start talking about, hey, did you guys figure this out? Did you guys see this? And we just couldn't stop talking about all the different factors that Alvys has to offer.
He was talking about getting a smart fridge because Lucas told him that you could log into Alvys from a smart fridge and see your loads while you're getting your food out of the fridge.
That
Yeah.
sounds like an April Fool's kind of thing.
But yeah, no, we
We
were
were very, very excited. And when they first presented the program to us, we were used to another program that we used to have. But then when they presented the program, they gave us like 3 months in order for us to start learning. But we got into it that we were very interested. We got very excited. For some reason, I was one of the first ones that rejected the proposal when they both came with the seminar that they went and they told me, oh, we are in love with this program. I say, no, we can't right now. We have to wait, this and that. But then when Lucas came and he presented the program, oh my God. And I don't know if he told you, but we started the program before Christmas.
I think our start date was supposed to be January 1st, and when he came, we were already up and running 2 weeks before January 1st.
2 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We got into it. And like you said, and since it was all of us with the program, one was payroll, I was in accounting, dispatching, and service and everything, and everyone had a part. So we were able to learn about that, and we came together, and it took us less time that it was programmed to have. And we're in love. I really like that program. I do. I do.
Yeah, a lot of trucking company owners, they hesitate to switch TMSs because they think it'll be a big hassle. The change may take time. They don't have time. Trucking companies are moving so fast all the time with so many moving parts. It's a hard thing to think about changing your TMS. Would you guys give those people any advice if they're thinking about making a switch to a better system?
It gets hard before it gets easy. So it's tough, but it was worth it. I think it's 100% worth it. There was friction in the beginning because change is not easily perceived. We were with the system for what, 15 years?
26 years.
26 years with the same system. We're very comfortable with it. And then they came like, hey, we want to change it. And it's like, no, we know this system. And then we did, and it was a lot of work to get everything onto Alvys. It really was. It was a lot of crying. But once you get it up and running, it's amazing. It really is. That's my advice. Like, just do it. If you're scared of the time is going to pass anyways. If you're scared of the work pays off.
I think when you look at the factors, the biggest challenge in everybody's industry, and I think in a life scam as well, is getting out of your comfort zone.
Yep.
We all get comfortable with what we do, with what we have, and how we have it, and we think, oh, well, it might be better, but I'm comfortable. I'll do it this way because I'm comfortable doing it this way, regardless if it takes 4 more steps. I'm comfortable, and for us, I think that challenge to say, hey, let's get everybody out of their comfort zone and see what we can do. And ultimately, changing TMS systems, like everything, nothing is perfect. You're going to have issues here and there, but I think it went a lot smoother than expected. Like I said, for us, even Lucas was amazed that when he came to start doing the orientation, we were already rolling. We'll say, hey, we're already doing this. This is, once you get set up and you basically, when they hand you the keys, it's pretty much play and go, and you'll be able to teach yourself really easy on anything that you need from it. And I think the benefits are a lot greater than what we had in our end, where it just made a huge difference.
one of the things that I really, really recommend, it will be Alvys. And for me, I'm the one who makes the payments. In accounts payable. So with Alvys, they were able to invoice on the same date that they were making the delivery. And for me, before we used to have so much money on purchase order, on sales orders. It's just standing there waiting for the paperwork to arrive and then sending the invoice and everything. But with Alvis, it's incredible. That's why I'm so excited with that program. And I'm after the person that is invoicing to get the proof of delivery, so that way we can invoice it as the same day. That's the main goal, to invoice on the same day that we're doing the delivery. And with Alvis, you're able to do it.
It's working.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is.
And for me, uh, I can see a trucking business running in the futures without Alvis. For me, Alvis is the only way we can running a trucking business. And for me, we are very lucky if we have the second, in my case, the third generation involved in the business. We are very lucky.
And I think, ironically, one of the questions that arise from Alvis is, well, can this replace personnel? Can this, will this be cheaper on you? And I think my father explained it to us when we sat down and said, look, guys, I'm not buying this to replace personnel. I'm buying this to make it easier for my people that we currently have. And that's the goal. You say, we're not here, this system's not here to replace it, is to evolve their time in something more useful, because Alvis will take care of everything that they were doing before.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have played with the marketplace yet, where it's bringing loads from multiple different load boards onto one screen. It's like it's going to allow those dispatchers. It's not that you would let a dispatcher go, but those dispatchers can now book a lot better freight more quickly and easily. It's making their job easier. So, they can be more successful at what they're doing. That makes sense.
And and the way that Alvis is programmed, we invoice and we do a load for one customer, but we are gonna do the American side. We're gonna leave the load at the border, and from the border, the other carrier is gonna take it to destination all the way to Mexico. And before we used to do links, and it was kind of hard, because they wanted to invoice the customer twice, and it was just one load with two carriers. And now with Alvis, you do your invoice, well, it does it by itself, and then you have your two carriers. So that way you can see when the first one is gonna leave the load at the border, and then from there you can see the other carrier taking that load all the way to Mexico. And that's amazing. For me, it was something really incredible.
And we have for the 2026 bigger Central Coast Transport, or start with the second company. And at the moment, I have the name Lucas Transport, or second company.
Look, that's transport.
I'll tell Lucas that. Yeah,
Yeah.
our customer support team, they really care. I mean, they do it like from the ones that I know personally, they do it from the bottom of their heart. And, Lucas has been in on your side of things. He started as a customer of Alvis, using Alvis before he started working for Alvis. And so, yeah, I'm glad that you guys get to work with Lucas because he is fabulous for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. He was very helpful for us.
Very professional.
Yes, to explain, to see, to start, and we're very excited still because we're still learning. There's so much to learn, but I think I know more with Alvis on the dispatch side than before with the other program. I did understood the other program, but I didn't got into a lot.
They were very separated. So if you were
Yes,
billing, you didn't
and
really
with
have to go to
Alvys,
the other program.
it's totally different. You are involved in everything. The loads, the load board, the what's delivered, what's on dispatch, what's waiting to be um, given to the driver. I don't know the names, because I'm not.
And I think because the workflow is just so much easier, it's so much automated. You're not scared of growth, and that's something that we looked into when we did the investment. Where we say, hey guys, what is another 40, 50 loads? What is 20 more customers? It doesn't get complicated with Alvys because you're managing it on the fly, you're billing on the fly, you're controlling and you're advising your customer positions, you're updating on the fly. It pretty much runs by itself once you get it up and running.
That's fabulous to hear. I love to hear it. Because that's really the heart behind it, is to help trucking companies grow, to make the whole thing less difficult, to take the like friction pieces out of the workflows. So there's a lot less manual work that you're doing, so that documents are automatically stored with the load, so that claims are easier. Um, so to hear that you guys feel more comfortable growing your company now, that seems more attainable. That's really encouraging to hear. Yeah. And then I'm just to kind of wrap us up. Do you have any advice that you would give other trucking companies? Maybe they are doing family-run fleets. Maybe they're starting out in the trucking world, or just in general, maybe they're moving to reefer or cross-border. Any last words of advice?
For me, on the
Continue.
county department, it's a lot easier, and they're gonna have more control of whatever customer, how many customers they owe you, how many loads they did. The dispatchers, you're gonna be able to see uh, that maybe they haven't delivered the product, or they're just there waiting for you to invoice it, or. But I will give the advice to buy it and not to be afraid. That it's gonna be the trouble that they're gonna go through. It's worth it. It's really is. And in the accounting side, I don't know about you, Abigail, on the payroll side.
Oh, payroll runs a lot smoother now. Before we used to do like 3 different systems, 3 different programs to run payroll. And with Alvis, it's just one. And it's amazing because you just put the dates and it tells you which drivers need to be paid and it's there for you. So, I mean, it's really smooth with payroll. And I think just the visibility overall that Alvis gives you, it gives you all the driver lists, all the carrier lists, all your assets, everything. I mean, I love it. I think the best part of Alvis, though, because we haven't talked about it, is probably the support chat box. I love them. They probably hear from us easily 4 times a day. Easily.
Like we started, it was when we started, we started like with a notebook. From a notebook, we went to Excel, and then from Excel, we started like, okay, there was like 3 or 4, maybe 5 programs that were duplicating work. We'll start it here. Okay, the customer call, let's write it here. We have a load available. And then from there, let's put it over here on this other Excel saying, okay, we're going to give it to this driver. And then we will do another Excel to put it for the unit. And then we would do the QuickBooks side, putting the same information over and over and over and over. And now it's just once.
You know, my advice would be, obviously we know the trucking industry has its roller coasters. It has its good days and it has its bad days. Ultimately, everybody knows where they stand today, in this industry. And if there's a system out there that gives you the tools to be more efficient, to do your job easier, why wouldn't you do it? And for us, we took the leap. We went at it. And to be able to say, on an instance, hey, we're invoicing 90% faster than what we were doing before. Well, that is a huge benefit. That itself would almost pay Alvys by itself, just because of the way that you can recuperate your money after you deliver, something that we couldn't be able to do before. Um, it's not an easy switch. Um, no TMS system is going to be easy, but I think Alvys gives you that flexibility to be able to do it a lot faster than others out there. And once you get started with it, the applications for the drivers, the setup for your dispatchers, the setup for your team in general, for your service team, it just makes sense. After you try it, there's really no way of how would you run a business without it.
That is high praise, and I appreciate it. And I want to give space too, though, for trucking companies. I mean, you guys have said upgrade your TMS. If your TMS is a pain point, look at what suits you best. Maybe it is Alvys. Alvys is a great fit for you guys. Is there anything else, maybe beyond technology, that you guys would advise people getting started in cross-border freight or moving into cross-border, or maybe they're moving into refrigerated, or maybe they're considering bringing family on board? Any other general advice?
For family, I mean, if you're going to bring family on board, family business is tough. So just make sure your connections and everything within your family are strong before you go into the business. Because if you get in a fight, you're going to lose your business and you're going to lose your family. So you better go in pretty connected before you start that. And if you feel good about it, go ahead, fly through it. For cross-boarding, I would say more that's relationships. Make sure you have a good relationship with your customer and a good relationship with your partners. I mean, if that's going, excuse me, it would be, I mean, that's what makes it work, in my opinion.
And overall, one of the things, or one of the features that, the experience, we talked about the experience before we got into this call, of how we mesh experience with youth. The experience that we've been taught by my father, by my mother, is be patient. Whenever you start a business, whenever you start something, you can't go out running at it. There's going to be stages. You're going to crawl, you're going to walk, you're going to get bigger and bigger. And, the way that my dad analyzed and told us when he sat us down and we all got involved is like, look, guys, 27 years ago, this is what he said. He said, we're going to be here. This business is like a baby. You're going to see its stages grow. But if you demand too much of it before its growth stage, you're going to fail. Let it mature. Let it keep going. Let it grow. Once it gets to that stage, it's going to evolve and it's going to grow on its own. But if you do it before, it might be a mistake.
That is fabulous advice. Yeah, don't grow too fast. Be patient. Let it happen in its own time. You guys, it has been absolutely wonderful to sit with you. One of the things that's really sticking out in my mind is something you said, Cesar, when you said, my father goes and meets every one of our customers in person. He goes and shakes their hand and looks in their eyes. And that's I think some of your secret sauce, to success, is that you really value other people. And you really value those relationships. And I feel like I've been inspired and learned from you guys. And also to see how well you guys work as a family is really cool. So without further ado, thank you so much for spending some time with me on a Friday afternoon. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend.
No,
Thank
thank you.
you.
You too.
Thank you.
Say hi or look at for me, please.